Alright everyone, so in this video here, I wanted to talk about mobile gaming. Yes, mobile. Now, I'm not going to include the Nintendo Switch, ROG Ally, Steam Deck, or any similar type devices out there because those are designed for dedicated gaming. When I'm talking about mobile, I'm basically talking about using your phone to play games. Now, first and foremost, for me personally, I did not grow up with touch controls. It was always physical buttons. So for me personally, trying to play games using touch controls on a screen doesn't really mix well with me. Luckily, there are options out there. Now, the one in the back is the Logitech G Cloud. Now, the only reason why I'm including that is because it technically is an Android device, and while you're not really using your phone with it, it's kind of a different option if you don't want to necessarily use your phone. But there are devices out there that you can use a controller paired to your phone. So that's like the oddball. That's going to be like the exception. But the ones I use is the second generation Backbone and an Xbox controller. Yes. Now you can use a DualSense controller or DualShock 4 controller with your phone if you want to play games, so that's not really an issue. But because I primarily console on the Xbox and I have extra Xbox controllers lying around, so you know what? Let me just use one of them for mobile purposes. So I'll get into this in just a moment, but first and foremost, the oddball in the room here is the Logitech G Cloud. And the reason why I say it's oddball because even though it does run Android, it does have physical controllers built into it, obviously, and also the games I actually play on mobile also supports this. So games like Fortnite, games like Call of Duty Warzone Mobile, the new version that came out, runs on this. Now, I'm not going to say it runs great natively on this thing, but the other option I can use this for is obviously game streaming, and that's what this thing is really designed for, is the streaming part of it. And because of that, you actually get really, really good battery life. Now, of course, when it comes to mobile gaming, that is the oddball because I only threw that in there just because it technically runs Android and does have the Google Play Store on there and things like that. And ironically, this thing, Fortnite on Android, fully supports this, which is kind of surprising because that thing is not really all that powerful, if I'm being quite honest. But what's really surprising, though, is Call of Duty Warzone Mobile, the new one that came out, actually runs pretty decently on that thing. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to run like at 60 frames locked or anything. It does run really, really well, and the game does recognize the built-in controls on that thing. So if you don't want to use a phone or your tablet, but you want to have like an Android device with built-in controllers, that is actually an option if you want to use it for COD Mobile. So, well, COD Warzone Mobile, because there is technically a COD Mobile on mobile devices, but that's a different version. The version I'm talking about is the one that you can actually play against PC and console players. So, not too shabby, if I must say. But anyway, enough about that thing. What about if you just want to link up an iPhone or, in my case, an Android phone? Well, these are the two options I use. So this one here, this is probably going to be the quicker one to talk about. But it's the Backbone. This is actually the second generation of the device, and there is technically a white version that mimics the PlayStation style. But because I don't really use PlayStation, I got the non PlayStation version. So what's cool about this? Now, obviously, the case isn't necessary. This is a separate purchase, but you know, why not have a case? But what's nice about this, and yeah, this is the USB-C version. But what's cool about it is that you can pull this out, extend it out, put your phone in, and it's spring loaded, so it literally just clamps it together, and it surprisingly secures the phone on. I was actually kind of surprised by it. So basically the way I do it, I just take my phone and line it up, clamps in. Now if I unlock the phone, press the button, there is a Backbone app, and when you either connect it to it, or if you connect doesn't launch, you can just press the orange button there, and it automatically launches the Backbone app. And this is one of these types of launchers. So if you ever use like a ROG Ally, for example, they use an app that basically aggregates all of the compatible apps that supports the controller, and that's what this does. So, and what's cool about it is that this can be like an easy way to play games on your phone. Now, one big negative I will say about this, because it's 2024, there is an optional subscription that you can subscribe to their service. Now, you may be wondering, it's like, wait a minute, why is there a subscription service to this thing? Well, two reasons. One, it's a way for them to make more money, but two, it kind of gives you a couple of perks, though for me personally, doesn't really make sense. One perk about this, and this is actually really, really stupid, the hardware is built into it, but because we're in 2024, they have to put some BS thing behind a paywall, and that allows you to, when the device isn't connected, so if I unclamp it, if you notice, there's a USB-C port. Now, what you can use it for, obviously, is when you have it connected to your phone, whether it's Android or iPhone, you can connect it to it, and it'll actually charge up the battery on your phone so you don't deplete the battery on your phone. Great. Nothing wrong with that. However, behind a paywall, you can use it to connect it to another device like a computer and use it as a wired controller. Now, ask me this, why is that feature behind a paywall? You know why? Because I think they realize most people would not even subscribe to it, but there's more people out there that will find that functionality to be more useful. So Backbone probably figures like, you know what? Let's throw that behind a paywall. Boo. No, that's really stupid. Technically, I'm doing the trial for it, so I'm gonna see like how all the features work out. But honestly, if once I unsubscribe to it and it basically becomes a big hassle to just use the app itself, then at that point I'll just uninstall the app and just mainly just launch the games, and that's it, or just put them in a nice little folder on my home screen and just use that, because that is BS if you ask me. The physical hardware itself is really nice, but the paywall aspect for the subscription service is complete BS. So that is a big, big, big negative for me. Now, the nice thing about this too, because this is the second generation version of it, is that they kind of redesigned how the phone holds to it. So now it can take into account for phones that uses a case. So my phone has a case on it, and this case works fine with it. Now you don't want like an overly bulky type case, or a case with like covers on the ports. But if you use a thin enough case, this actually works fine with it, so you don't really have to remove the case. So that's actually a nice thing. But like I said, because of that paywall, that is something to keep in mind. Now, if you're willing to ignore that, ignore the app and just use it as the controller, this thing is fine. Though the other downside to it is that you need the app to update the firmware on this thing. But I'm pretty sure every once in a while you can just look online, check if there's a firmware update, download it, connect to it, update the firmware, get rid of the app, and move on with your life. So, but like I said, I'm going to use the app, see how it is. I did notice though before I subscribed, it kept nagging me all the time about subscribing. So if that's the case after I unsubscribe to it, that is complete BS right there. So that's a big negative with this, but the physical hardware itself, really, really solid. And of course, you know, if you're going to have a case for it, this case is actually really nice. It just goes in there. Nice little zipper. And it's fully protected. Now, this is probably my go-to. However, this is not necessarily the most portable thing to do, but it does have a handle on it. This is from OtterBox. This is an Xbox Series or Xbox One/Series controller case. Now, if you're wondering, it's like, man, that's actually pretty bulky. Well, there's a reason why. When you unzip it and open it, you're going to notice there's a phone clip attached to it. So basically what I did was, when I found out about what OtterBox did, I basically bought the entire thing that they offer for this thing. So not only the case, but the shell for it, the phone clip, even the battery pack. Now what's really cool about this is that you don't necessarily need all this other stuff to use the battery pack. It just goes into the AA section of the controller, which I don't know why people complain about that, honestly. You know, if you want rechargeable batteries, you can buy rechargeable batteries for it. So it's not really that big of a deal. In fact, I'd rather something like this, that if the battery goes out or the rechargeable battery dies, you don't have to like take the entire thing apart like with the Switch and the PlayStation controllers. You can literally just take the flap off, pop the battery out, put a new one on, slap it back together, and move on with your life. I don't know why people complain about that, but that's just how I see it. Now, what's cool about this, you don't necessarily have to get all this to do this, but it is nice that I can have everything contained in here. And these little battery packs are obviously rechargeable. And at home, I have a little charging cradle that I can just pop these on. And when these batteries goes dead, I can just pop them on there, charges it up, and I'm good to go. Now, what's cool about doing the controller like this is that you can pull this out, extend it out, and there is a MagSafe version. So if you prefer using MagSafe, you can just magnetically attach to it. But I do the clamp style, and all you do is just put your phone in, bam, that's it. So you're pretty much good to go, and you can play your games on your phone, which is really, really cool. And because these newer Xbox controllers are Bluetooth, it connects through Bluetooth. Now, one negative, and this is not OtterBox's fault, but it would be nice if Microsoft made a way that you don't have to connect it to a computer or an Xbox to update the firmware on these controllers, but you can do it, you know, maybe through an app, you know, maybe the Xbox accessory app for Android, for example. That would be cool, but you can't currently. But because it is Bluetooth, you can wirelessly connect to it, and this is probably the most comfortable way to play games on mobile, at least for me. And because you're using an Xbox controller, it just feels natural in your hand. And that's really cool, and that's what's really nice about it. Now, obviously you can just do touch controls, but I don't really do touch controllers. on phones, so this is what I primarily do. But this is probably the most extravagant way of doing it. If you just want like a quick and easy way of doing it, maybe look at the backbones, but keep in mind with that subscription that they add on to it. So, but like I said, the subscription is optional. You don't need it. But figure I'd just let you know it's there. So that's what I do when it comes to like mobile gaming is primarily these two, and then every once in a while the Logitech G Cloud. But what are your thoughts? Do you guys play mobile games? Do you do something like this? Let me know down in the comments down below. Oh, here's what's really cool too about these battery packs. Because it does come with a little adapter that basically takes the power from the battery and powers up the controller. There is actually a capacitor in here. So when you turn on the controller and say like the battery's about to go dead, because it does have a battery indicator, well, you can pop this out. It'll still stay on because of the capacitor. Take the other battery pack, plop it back on, and you don't have to worry about resyncing it. So that's actually a really cool touch there. Good job, OtterBox. You actually smartly designed this thing. Now, for PlayStation fans out there, maybe it would be nice if they designed one for PlayStation, but we all know why a company like OtterBox will gear more towards the Xbox controllers, because Microsoft is more heavily invested in pushing the whole game streaming and mobile gaming initiative. So, kind of makes sense business wise why they would choose the Xbox over PlayStation in that regards. But even if you're not a fan of Xbox controllers, this is still probably the more comfortable way of playing games on your phone. So, but if you don't want to go all out something like this, there are obviously other options out there that are similar to this, maybe even a lot cheaper than this. Or you can just do the simple way of like a backbone or something similar. There are like similar devices out there that does that. But of course, the nice thing about the backbone is that it's not limited to a particular phone or anything. So even in the future, if you do get a new phone, you can still use this, which is something I kind of look for, because I bought devices in the past where it's designed for one particular phone. And then once I upgrade the phone to something else, that device basically becomes obsolete. So, yeah. Anyway, just wanted to share my thoughts about what I use to play mobile games. And that's pretty much it. Like always, have a good one. And fun fact, do you know how to power off an Xbox controller? No, you don't take the battery out and just plug it back in to turn it off. You press and hold the Xbox button until the light goes out. So I'm pressing and holding, and the controller turns off. That's how you turn off an Xbox controller. Like always, have a good one.